Go home. Let's call the governance meeting to order, please. Gentlemen, gentlemen. Is there any courtesy of the floor?
I just have a little bit. I wasn't asked to participate in the last meeting where a great deal of talk, most of it false and fabricated, was engaged in. But what I want to do is really put an end to where did the money go. As the controller has definitively reported, the money was spent on operations at Graysdale. And as I laid out for you exhaustively on June 5th, I have demonstrated to you what, June 5th, so people should go on YouTube and watch what I said, pretty definitively what happened. But these questions, and you continue to say things like $2.6 million is missing. Well, it's not missing. The controller's report said it went to operating expenses on June 5th. I provided you with an explanation as to what happened. I can provide you with further explanation as to what occurred. But what I have for you tonight are the expenses of Graysdale in 2024. These are 4,000 invoices, which total 12,000 pages printed out if they were to be printed out. So you can see we put it on a flash drive so you could all review the invoices at your leisure so that you can be definitively secure in the knowledge that all of the money was spent at Graysdale. We're going to do a review to make sure no HIPAA-related materials are on these documents. I'm sure you won't share them if they are. And then we're going to publish them for the public so that they can see definitively where the money went at Graysdale. And as I explained, most of it went towards agency expenditures, overtime for agency folks, and overtime that shouldn't have been paid. And I'm going to just take a minute or two to go through that with you.
Can I just ask a question? Sure. Why do you feel that needs to be presented here at governance?
Well, I'm sorry because I didn't get a chance to do it at finance when.
Would you prefer to do it tomorrow evening
No.
during your report?
No, I think it needs to be done now.
Well, then you have 2 more minutes left.
Two more minutes? Well, thank you very much. So one of the things during our investigation that we found vis-a-vis, because remember, the bonus idea wasn't county council's idea. That was my idea. And I was as angry as you were when I learned that they had spent all the money. Now, I think important is to know, and you can ask Ms. Morton this tomorrow, although she's just not an expert on what has happened in the past. What she can tell you is that most nursing homes account for their finances the way Graysdale accounts for its finances. I did not realize that all the money that goes into Graysdale goes into one pot. But that's what happens at Graysdale, and that's what happens at most nursing homes. But you could explore that with her. Specifically, what I found when I was doing my investigation was what's akin to waste, fraud, and abuse in overtime with respect to some of the very folks that you're concerned about not having that final retention bonus payment. Let me just go through it really quickly for you. In 2023, because as Mr. Brown pointed out earlier, we're talking about 2023, 2024, 2025, really. In 2023, per pay period, and this is for non-nursing folks, so folks who don't help any residents with their daily activities of living, non-nursing, per pay period, there were 324.78 hours of overtime, which is just absolutely outrageous. And then in 2024, there were 270.35 hours of overtime. Now, this is per pay period. This was adding up to nearly $500,000 extra a year being spent that didn't need to be spent. In our investigation, which admittedly took a long time, as I explained on June 5th and why, when we found this out, we immediately went into action. And in January of this year, per pay period, there were 233 hours of overtime for non-nursing folks at Graysdale. Remember, these are the same people that didn't get that final retention bonus payment. Today, there are 47 hours per pay period of overtime at Graysdale, and no functions are being diminished whatsoever. So we went from 324 hours per pay period of overtime for non-nursing employees at Graysdale, now down to 47. And that is a major find, and we're very pleased to have put an end to that waste and abuse. And I am glad I got an opportunity to tell you that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other
I
courtesy
don't
of the
mind a
floor?
question. Sure, sure,
All right, you knew there was a problem.
yes.
Why didn't you come to us in executive session and say, I got a problem at Graysdale?
I
And I
think-
think this would all been pretty much out of the water.
I think on June 5th, I acknowledged maybe twice that I should have
You
had.
should have did that in
I should
January.
have
You
had.
already knew something was
Well,
going on
no,
with January.
I think what, Mr. Giovanni, let me answer your question.
Yeah.
I think I acknowledged on June 5th that I should have done that
Okay.
in the past, in
Yeah.
the previous
I
year,
mean, you
that I
didn't
should have
to
done
go through
that.
the investigation, just say, I got a problem.
I think I acknowledged I should have done that, because so much of it was wrapped up in personnel issues. Yeah, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a discussion regarding the procurement process. The reason I asked for this to be discussed tonight is I think that there have been questions in the past. I believe that we had an ordinance that was tabled in the past, and that there's been some effort to rework that ordinance. Now, I have two in front of me, so this was, okay, thank you. We have two, so. My concern in bringing it up is that there have been several times, and I think even recently with Mr. Goffredo's situation, where there's questions about how the process is done. I know council's being asked to be more involved in the process. But I think I'm still not satisfied with where we are. I don't know if anybody's been stepped up to go on the new RFP process, but I think that there's some concerns if it's not made available to council. And so if we could just look through some of the changes and maybe discuss it before we start to present it, so that we could refine it. I believe when we presented it last time, Mr. Kapoor did a nice job of trying to put something together, but there were some concerns, so that if we look at it ahead of time, we could present the full document and then maybe move it forward in a better way. So if, I don't know if Mr. Kapoor, you want to do it, or I know Mr. Spadoni, assistant.
The one that I put together isn't here. Yeah, but then I did, I did another one with that spelled out.
Yeah, it's not, oh, here it is. So on the second one, it says the evaluation committee and has the
Oh, okay.
contracts.
My apologies, thank you. Yes. Yes, so I will,
Want to present that?
tomorrow night.
Well, no, I want to, I mean, can you talk a little bit about what you're thinking and how this change is coming about, or how you think this would be more helpful to the process?
I just think having more eyes in the room, ears in the room, that can bring back to council as the contract amounts go up. Even at the end, we just get one vote. We're still bringing back information that more than one person heard. And I think that would alleviate some of the questions that might have gone on in the room. So that was my purpose, because I think Mr. Kraft had said this is too vague, the one that was presented. This adds a little bit more detail to it as to participants per money. The drawback to that, obviously, is getting council members to participate in a timely manner that is accessible for council members. And that becomes the issue. But that was my thought in putting more detail into what was presented earlier.
Any comments or questions?
Yeah, personally, I prefer the ability for council to adjust the amount of members in that committee, depending on the the involvement of the project or what that project means to the county or council. You know, some of these are a lot more routine than others. And as far as Mr. Kapoor said, you know, judging on how much time, you know, the members can commit to it, having more people involved, you know, if, I remember for the parking garage, there was 3 hours of meetings on a Tuesday and 3 hours on a Wednesday. So I attended by, you know, phone the one day and I attended in person the other. But if there was two people involved, one could, you know, just a little bit more flexibility for council. And then, like Mr. Kapoor said, having two opinions to come back to council to be able to share, I think will also be beneficial.
I think one of my concerns with this process also is that when we first requested the pay study and when we requested the Graysdale assessment, an RFP went out without any input from us as to how to write it, what we were looking for. And so, like, I understand if there's something that the administration's looking at, they develop it, or a certain department develops it, but when it's council development, I think we should be at the front of that, because if we're looking to do something and we're looking to hire a consultant or do something like that, that we should be considered at the front. So I don't know if that needs to be added anywhere in the code or the language, but, you know, most of the time it's just having us sit in on a major project. Do we need a lot of people to vote on coffee? I don't know. I mean, but when you're talking about a building or when you're talking about a healthcare plan, I think that we do, and we need more upfront. I know when we did the ARPA funding, 3 council members sat in on all of those disbursements. And I think even back before it was ARPA in the first layer, that they met and they reviewed those small businesses. And so it's a small adjustment, unfortunately, to the staff to try to do it at a time when council members can be available, but it would save everybody in the end, because then you have 3 people or 4 people or 2 people that can say, I was there, I really liked this, as opposed to the conflicts that we've been having to date. And I don't know what it does as far as the bidding process. I don't know that fixes it, but, you know, if there's anything else that we need to look at that end.
That one's a little bit more deep-seated, I believe, but that's my personal opinion. I'm still only seeing 1 bidders, 2 bidders for 35 people looking. I don't know what that's a reflection of. I have suspicions as someone that bids, but it's tough to bid to governments. There's a lot of information you have to provide, it takes a lot of time, and then sometimes you don't get picked because of, you know, politics always plays a part of these things too. It's not always going to the lowest bidder, so some people don't want to invest the time if they don't feel like it's worthwhile. And that's, you know, I wasn't happy. I wasn't here for when we made the selection with the parking garage, but I wasn't happy with how it went down because of the opinions that were not taken into consideration. And I think that's a reflection of why sometimes people don't bid to us. That's my personal opinion. I don't have anything else to say about that, but.
Any other thoughts or questions, or yes, sir?
Yeah, just a thought. I mean, I think this is a good idea, just in terms of transparency, in terms of legislative branch, having more of a seat at the table. The only issue that I actually do have with regard to, you know, having 1 member of council, as this is written here, sitting in on a quote committee between $100,000, $300,000, there could be a contract that comes to us with the funding is between $100,000 and $300,000. It's a really important, like, contract. And I know we don't want to say that this contract is going to be more important than this contract or this one, but I don't necessarily think the number of council members on an evaluation committee can really be set like this. And we may need to set this project by project in the future, perhaps, if that makes sense. And I don't know if we're getting into
No,
the
it
minutia of this too much.
I think that's what
but-
the second one. Do you see there's 2 there? There's another ordinance right behind it. So and the one states that we have the option up to 3 based on whatever project, you know, we deem
Oh, I got you,
suitable.
okay. That's this one here?
Correct.
That's the original one.
That's the original one.
So
and
I think
Yeah.
maybe you're suggesting some language that maybe in addition to this, that there may be a time, or dependent on the type of project, where we might want to add more at either layer, or, like, I'm
Yeah,
not, that's why
potentially.
I'm doing this now. I
Potentially.
don't want the wordsmithing done during the main meeting, so.
Yeah, potentially, because, I mean, there could be a contract that we get that's $200,000, but it's for something really important, say it's a tech upgrade that is going to help a certain department. I mean, that's important stuff for the future. And yes, I know we've been talking about coffee and tea and stuff.
Might be important, I didn't mean
And-
to
and
diminish
look, my
that.
coffee's important to me every single day and throughout the day, so, but there are different levels of importance with various contracts. So that's my thoughts on this at this point, because
So-
I do think we need the transparency here.
Is there a way to add that after number 3 and prior to regardless? And just put that in as a. Anything else? Mr. Giovanni?
Well, I agree with Mr. Warren, because some of those IT contracts get very expensive.
Ew.
And we don't need 3 council people there to vote. It needs to be done, for instance, like your disaster recovery upgrade. If that stuff needs to be done, and it's in the plan to do the refresh, I don't think we need three council people there. I mean, that's something that has to be done. It has to be done for the county, and they have to work. And I really don't, those kind of contracts, I would agree, we don't need to be there. I don't even think we need one. That would just come to us and say, this is what we're doing. We have the firm that put in the bid, and we can see it from there. So I agree with Mr. Warren about that. So,
If we make that small adjustment, would we be ready to introduce this tomorrow evening? No. I'm hearing.
It's already been published.
Oh, we can't. So it would be the subsequent meeting? Okay. Any other questions, concerns? I would say any additions that you want to make to get to Ms. Shafnisky by Friday? Is that too soon? And then we can review it to put on the following agenda. Okay, that's that. And then the next is, what was I thinking? Home Rule Charter updates. I guess some of what Mr. Brown started to talk about last meeting ties in with this. I think I had an aversion to hearing that a resolution is just a suggestion. And as the member of the governing body, I've heard all kinds of things. I've heard loosely that we're not really the governing body, that we're merely legislative, we're just here to assist. Like, we have this document that really needs to be updated and looked at more carefully. I've asked Mr. Spadoni to look into a little bit about what is the true nature of a resolution versus an ordinance. And I know that we have what's stated in our home rule charter, but I wanted him to expand a little beyond and look at what some other counties may do, if there's anything different, to see if there's any other changes that we may want to adopt. Because I think it's interesting as we're discussing these Graysdale monies, that they were all resolutions, right? And some were grabbed with fervor, and maybe others were just suggestions. So I don't like the idea that when the intent of council is to do this and it's ignored, that's how we operate. And that if we're going to have to go to, well, we're always going to have to do everything by ordinance, that seems somewhat ridiculous. The one thing that I have really an issue with, and I don't know how else to bring it up, is we had a resolution about the update to this room. It didn't happen. We did an ordinance regarding an update to this room with a definitive timeline. I believe the timeline was June 2024? And Mr. Heckman, as of the last meeting, was still complaining, and tonight, all I'm hearing is an echo for everybody that comes in. So we've had a resolution, we've had an ordinance, and it's still not done to our standard and satisfaction. Now what? What do we do? So I would really ask you all to consider what kind of updates you'd like to take a look at. This is one that just upset me, because if we make a resolution, whether it's a silly one or a serious one, like, I think they're all serious if we present them. And hopefully we're presenting things that are what we will to happen. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts or want to have a discussion on this?
Honestly,
This is my concern.
I honestly think that if we create a resolution, make resolutions mean something, we still haven't gained any ground. At the end of the day, this body is only as serious as we take ourselves, and the fact that we're being ignored. You know, the audio video is, you know, not serious business. Graysdale, a little bit more. Both those things were passed by resolution. Both of them were ignored. At the end of the day, it depends how we handle the response to that, which means what our resolutions will mean going forward. If we just keep printing out resolutions, they will mean nothing, because they already seem like they mean nothing.
And the room was done by ordinance, because when it was done by
Sure, the
resolution,
second
it was
time.
ignored. So now,
Second time. Now that the ordinance is done, it's worse than it was before. There's no, there's no visible improvement, and all we have is an audio feedback to remember the fact that something was done. It's embarrassing.
well, and I think, it's like you said with the $100,000 thing, because it was only in that under $200,000 range, but it's serious. It's how we conduct our business. It's how we record our business. It's how people can view our business. It's how we can bring speakers in, and we don't have the capacity to do the kind of things we want when we want to. So I think if we can't have that as a basic tool for this governing body, it's simple, but it's a problem. Other counties have it, and it's done effectively and correctly. Mr. Brown?
Follow up to Mr. Gafredo's comment that we have to take ourselves seriously. The way you get the administration's attention is stop approving their contracts until they comply with what we're asking for. I brought that up at the amendment last meeting. I was only no vote against it. But along the way, until you start saying no, you're not going to get their attention. If the resolutions don't matter, then what's the point of even approving the contracts? Well, it says in Home Rule Charter, we have to do that, we have to do it by resolution. But if the resolutions don't mean anything, then the executive can just continue to sign contracts whether we approve them or not. I don't think that would be the case. And at that point, I think you would force the administration to pay more attention to the needs of this council, especially the legacy one, the latent ones that are not being addressed. Important. During the budget amendment, it was like, oh my God, the children won't have food, the old people, and you start pulling on the heartstrings, and no one wants to create that kind of ripple. But I'm at the point with this administration that it is ridiculous. They thumb their nose. We're lied to, in my opinion, in many cases. We're not being taken seriously, and to be told that the resolutions are an opinion and not a matter of law, pretty much tells you exactly what the view of the administration or this council is. So my recommendation would be, stand up, say no, and then when we get compliance and a cooperation, it has to be a partnership, then we can go ahead and begin to move things forward. I don't know what that would look like ultimately, because there's a lot of things that come before us for approval. But sometimes saying no is the best way to get them to say yes.
You have a thought, I could tell, the mouth is going, and the words aren't coming
Because
out.
I know I wasn't on council initially when the tech upgrades that we're talking about, just as an example, but we do have new tech stuff, right? We do have new audio and new cameras, correct? Because I think they were new, so.
The equipment is new.
Okay, so we did get upgrades, correct?
The whole purpose of our ordinance was to be able to have Zoom capabilities, be able to be seen, be heard without some substantial delay, and the audio quality is pretty poor. I don't know if you've ever called in, Jeff, but at least when you hear them over the speaker,
yeah.
It's not great. But yeah, and as far as all of it put together, yeah, we got new cameras. I don't know if we got any other tech other than that. Camera quality seems about the same. I don't think the camera quality is bad, but the point was, like, we wanted to be, brought into the 21st century with how we do call-ins, and, it was kind of definitely pushed off. The resolution was ignored, then the deadline of the ordinance was ignored. It was late, still late, and then when we got done, we didn't get what we asked for. So it's like, do we have funds? Do we have money that we can access? Why don't we just hire the people to do it ourselves? We're gonna get told that's illegal. Everything we try to do is where it's illegal. It's like, we're children, they're the adults, we gotta listen, and that's the way it feels. Just like, the whole night, I've been listening to, you know, you're ridiculous for asking these questions, you're ridiculous for not believing us, everything's fine. And then I'll get phone calls saying, everything's not fine, they're lying to you, from people that work for the county. So I'm tired of it. It's so hard to do business up here seriously when you're constantly questioning the veracity of what you're being told. Frustration, you know? My opinion is, I think we should take the money that we need out of whatever fund we can access, pay for the upgrades that we want, and deal with the consequences later, because it seems like that's the operating MO on the other end.
I want to ask our solicitor, if we have a resolution and now we have an ordinance, and we have an ordinance that's passed and not followed for over a year, what is our recourse as a council? You have to be on,
You know, processes, one of them is Mr. Brown's suggestion. The death knell would be an action in mandamus, which Mr. Brown would be aware of, because I sued Mr. Brown a number of times to do certain things.
Lost.
I think I want to. That being said, and I don't mean to be humorous about that, but the optics of that are not good. Government does not belong in the courtroom. There should be some process or procedure that can be laid out by counsel with the administration to avoid that type of process. Now, is it available? Yes.
so,
And while I'm speaking, I was a little alarmed tonight when I heard someone say, and I don't remember who said it, that, well, that's only a resolution, that's just a suggestion. That is definitively set forth in the administrative code and the Home Rule Charter as a consensus of council. It is the act of council. It does not have a penal section like an ordinance does, but it certainly is the expression of council's approval, disapproval, or statement of purpose.
I don't think you did either.
No, you didn't say that. It came from the podium.
I came elsewhere. Well, that's my concern. So at this point, we're a year late. Have you had cooperation in getting done what you need to get done in this room? Should you, I know, put you on the spot, I don't have to. Go ahead, I'll put you on the spot then, take it off.
It isn't working, you're getting the feedback. You're getting the feedback. How many times do we have IT come up here before we're ready to start the meeting because nobody can do anything? The monitors don't come on, we're having a presentation isn't working. It's been ongoing. It's been ongoing. So I don't know, unless somebody here thinks it's working fine, I don't know, I don't see it.
They do come up here, they do work with us. We have tried to do some testing, and logistical things do come up. I understand that. Right, so it's kind of like the Echo, we have a feeling that it's the recessed ceiling that's the problem, so we don't know quite how to fix that yet. But I'm not gonna, I wouldn't say that there's been no cooperation, no, absolutely not. They did put in new cameras, which are a lot clearer, and there are things about the audio that are much better, I think, definitely on the recording side, but we've just gotta push the Zoom part of it off of testing and just go live with it.
Are those white speakers new?
No.
They've been there? We don't have to troubleshoot now. I'm just saying it doesn't seem like a tall task. You know what I mean? Like, if we can't figure this out, no wonder we're struggling with the nursing home, you know?
So how much time reasonably do we need to get this done? Given that we are a year delayed.
You asking us or the administration?
I'm asking Aileen, and then,
Say, because if it's up to us, I say we bring somebody in now, tell them what we want, they give us a bill, we pay the bill. Get it done so we can have meetings like every other government agency, so it looks like it's in 2025 and not 1995. It's ridiculous.
Understand what you're saying, and.
That's not legal, right? I'm sure I'm breaking the law.
there's
No,
some
no, there
concern.
are security concerns and those kinds of things that had to, you have to keep things in a closed loop, and you can't just basically hire any company to walk in and plug into your network kind of thing. We've made significant there have been changes, I will reach out again to IT and to Mr. Barron, and we'll see if we can't work this out.
Can we have a date and a deadline, please?
December 1st? No. But I mean, I think we need to
Been
attach
over
a
a
date.
year.
The dates mean nothing. The dates mean nothing, so.
If I recall correctly, and I haven't looked at the ordinance lately, but the ordinance that we're talking about had a definitive list of improvements by jot and tittle, if you will. They were very technical. Do we know which ones aren't here now?
I will tell you that most of the problem now is not in the hardware. It's just fine tuning the zoom and making sure that it's going to perform when we turn it on. We'll see what we can do.
We zero in on that, find out what's missing and what can be done. And frankly, the president's suggestion is not for a committee meeting, it's for council's consideration.
Madam President, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So is the Zoom the final piece you're looking to make happen?
I think that's what's been missing. I think that's what, again, I'm not home, I'm here, but the folks at home are saying like,
That was the piece, that was
I
what we.
was
I
the
will tell
piece.
you that from our perspective, yes, I think the Zoom piece, and they were gonna change two of the TVs so that they
Okay.
face the other way, and then it was the Zoom capability of just, you know, and like I said, we've been doing testing for months. We've been meeting with the IT guys here in the room, and I
So
don't know
help me,
why it's not.
help me understand, because it sounds like there's been a lot of cooperation despite
That's
what I'm
saying.
hearing.
I'm not
Despite the
saying-
attacks on my administration, it sounds like my administration has been very cooperative. So what can I do to help you get to the finish line with respect to the Zoom?
get it done.
Well, I need to understand what that is, what's not getting done.
Well, we need to know whether these TVs are going to be flipped onto the back as we talked about.
Okay.
We need to find out why these monitors sometimes work and don't work.
Okay.
We need to figure out what the deal is with the Echo, and we need to be able to do the Zoom without randomly not being able to hear each other, because that's the one time we did it, the person calling in couldn't hear anything that we were saying, and so we're not sure what was wrong at that point.
So it's not working. Do they have any theories as to why it's not working? The Zoom, I mean.
I don't know. All I know is they keep testing.
Okay,
that's-
let me get a definitive answer on that, and I will report back what they think it is, and I'll have Mace here and come and explain it and see, you know, if there is a potential, if there's a potential cure to the problem.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I will, but we need to get it done. If that's the final piece, and they have been cooperative, but it's just not getting to the finish line, and if for some reason it can't with the current solution, we need to say that too, definitively. Instead of council still waiting, thinking it's a thing, if it's not a thing, we'll get an answer. Okay?
Sounds
Thank
like a plan to me.
Yep.
Mr. McClure, can I say something
Sure.
real quick? You know, you came up and you responded, great, I appreciate that. But we've been making comments, and I know you've listened and you heard, for a year. Mr. Heckman, every time he calls in, he's been calling in all the time because he's in this condition. He's been saying it, so it's like, I understand. That was the most abrasive we've been about it. Didn't have to get to that, and if you would have told us a month before we were hitting the deadline, hey, we're not gonna make it, this state, we would have been, but it's like, there's no communication, and we're not making that up. There's no communication ever.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of communication, though. That's where I think you're wrong, and that's why I actually did get up, because it sounds like there's been a lot of cooperation, but there appears to be some technical issues that are not being resolved or can't be resolved, and that you need an answer to. And I'm going to get that answer for you definitively. And we may just have to live with a system that it doesn't work perfectly, but works. But we're going to get it to the finish line if we can get to the finish line.
See, I'm comfortable with everything except that last statement.
What's
I'm not
that?
comfortable with living with a system that doesn't work. I think we need to go to a next step. Or if what we suggested doesn't work, we need to find out how it can work.
Point well taken, and I agree with you. I did not mean to say what I said. I did not mean to say that.
I understood,
If
but I
this,
mean,
if
like,
this
if it-
solution isn't the solution, then there is no solution. I did not
Because-
mean to say that.
Because I don't think we have to go to ordinance every time we want to have a Zoom meeting. I don't think it should have ever gotten to that, so.
Well, here we-
Whatever we
here
need
we
to
are.
do to make it happen for the future generations of these bodies, I would appreciate.
Yep.
And thank you. Anything else on other home rule charter updates or concerns or things that you have seen that maybe need to be addressed? I would ask everybody all the time to please bring them forward, because I think the more we talk, the more we see, oh, this isn't right. Or there's like little holes in places that if you would bring it, we can address it. I don't mind doing it. I don't know that everything needs to go to referendum if it's if it's a slight amendment, like if it's a big ask, like the sheriff thing was a change in the style of government, right?
The referendum is the tool to reform the home rule charter.
But if it's an amendment to something that already exists,
If it's an amendment, the referendum is the way to go.
all right, well then, hopefully not, but let's take a look at it then. And the code as well.
This is gonna be the homeroom charter is gonna be 50 years old, right? It was in 1978, so I mean, you gotta do something, I would
will
assume.
put a resolution for a study together whenever you're ready. I just would like all of council to be ready, because or at least a majority.
Well, I don't think the younger guys wanna work an 80-year homeroom charter. I think they need to make some changes.
I don't think we should be afraid of our own government.
I'll say on the opposition, I don't think this is any time where, I don't know, this doesn't seem like the most cohesive time for people to be coming together to change the home rule charter of this county. I feel like there's a lot of divisiveness between parties, not a lot of logical thinking, a lot of abrasiveness. I think if we could find ways to tweak it, great. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So then please take a look at the smaller pieces that you think need some adjustments. And that's why I'm suggesting we do this procurement piece, or if there's anything, like anything else that you want to take care of. And the last piece I want to do is a discussion on, regarding the council code of conduct. I had Aileen bring this up. Something occurred behind the scenes or slightly behind the scenes at the last meeting that really disturbed me. And I realize that we have been dancing on the line of violations of this code of civility. It's one thing to have debate, it's one thing to disagree. There have been a lot of comments made about this being a political season. I have to say, this is my 8th year, and this is the most that I've heard that tune or felt that level of intensity around things ever. And I think I haven't experienced it before. But what I was concerned about is the idea of being respectful to one another and the idea of not insulting people. And last time, there was a comment made by one council member to another that they did not need to attend the session in the back room because if they didn't agree with the vote, they didn't have to come in. That was completely uncalled for. I believe it calls for an apology, and I think we've just got to do better. And I know maybe if somebody's signature is I'm a little more aggressive or I'm going to be feisty, that's your choice, but do it intelligently. And so I think we really need, I'm going to bring this up again tomorrow, but I think we need to stop. I don't hear people cursing at anybody. No one's doing that, but that just was the straw for me. Because everybody has a right to be in that room, everybody has a right to listen, everybody has a right to say whatever you want to say about any legislation, but when you start talking about the people, and I don't like what you're doing, or who are you to tell me, it's not about that. It's about, I don't like this piece, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with, can we be civil? And I think that we need to look into extending this to the people that come forward and speak to us. Because I feel at times that there are people that are dismissive and disrespectful, and I think that that needs to be to this body with each other and anybody else that's presenting to us. And so I don't know if anybody wants to consider making some amendments. I may take a stab with you at writing some of them, but I think it should not just include us. Obviously, you can't control what people do with courtesy of the floor, because that's the public and they get their 5 minutes. But other people need to be respectful to this body. Like you said, if we don't demand it from ourselves, it's not going to happen. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about that?
As I sit here in my work clothes, coming from, starting a 3 o'clock meeting, is there dress code for council meetings? Or are we just supposed to wear, what we deem to be most suitable?
There is no dress code.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else have concerns about this document or the way it's written or how it's been? Okay, is there anything else to bring up for this? Then I'll call for adjournment. Thank you.